For my first place after college, I rented an old 2-story house in the middle of a bustling city. It seemed to be the perfect retreat away from the pressures of a new career, though a little dim and rustic with its creaky floors. I was filled with excitement about living on my own, ready to take on the world from my quaint retreat. Just as I settled in front of the television on a cool evening, the comforting hum of a sitcom playing in the background shattered my tranquility. Above me, the sound of footsteps echoed with a deliberate pace, moving from one end of the hallway to the other. Their footsteps were heavy, causing the old floorboards to groan under their oppressive weight. They paused, as if to decide their next course, before finally retreating towards the staircase. It seemed the rhythm of the footsteps almost synced with the fast beat of my heart, and every creak added more tension to an already tense atmosphere. Driven more by a surge of adrenaline mixed with fear, I immediately turned off the TV and stood frozen, listening for any further sounds. The house fell into an eerie silence that seemed to press down around me as I tiptoed to the staircase. Each step added to my anxiety's crescendo, with the old wood creaking beneath every footstep. As I reached the top, I gazed down the length of the dimly lit hallway, half expecting, or more accurately, dreading to be accosted by an intruder. Yet, the corridor was empty, swallowed by the quiet darkness. I moved systematically from one room to the next, searching. The house responded with a mocking stillness, contrasting sharply with my tense anticipation. Upon opening the seldom used office, the chill from the night air greeted me, causing the curtains to flutter wildly. That's when I saw him, a man's legs disappearing through the open window. Our eyes met for a split second, a fleeting moment filled with chilling realizations before he vanished into the night. The police arrived shortly after my frantic call, but with the intruder gone and no substantial evidence left behind, there was little they could do. The incident left me wrestling with a mix of anger and dread, questioning the security of what I had thought was my haven. Just as I was beginning to relax again, a violent series of knocks erupted late at night 2 days later, shattering the silence and reigniting my fear. The knocks were aggressive and insistent, resonating through the old house with haunting urgency. I approached the door hesitantly as I reached it. The knocking stopped abruptly. Peering through the peephole, I saw only the empty porch, bathed in the unnerving glow of the streetlight. No one appeared, yet the silence that followed seemed filled with dark possibilities. From then on, every noise and shadow in the moonlight seemed charged with sinister intent. The house no longer felt like a safe haven, but more like a prison. I found myself constantly looking over my shoulder, jumping at the slightest sounds, a prisoner to the anxiety that now gripped me. Unable to shake the feeling of being watched, I started scouring rental listings, eager to find a new place free from the unnerving experiences that had turned my dream of independence into a haunting ordeal. Unseen threats marked the quaint, charming house I had once been excited to call home, a stark reminder of how quickly peace can turn to terror. This happened when I was younger. Around a certain time, my family and I were moving into a new neighborhood, and it was exciting for me, especially to a spacious 2-story house that seemed like a castle. It had the 13-year-old me bursting with excitement. The relocation was due to my dad's job. And though the house, with its basement and many rooms, promised endless exploration, it also held a whisper of mystery in its silent corners. I was alone downstairs one quiet evening, perfect for my late-night video gaming ritual. The rest of my family was sound asleep as I reveled in the solitude, the glow of the television casting animated figures around the room. The house creaked occasionally, providing a soundtrack to its settling that I had come to appreciate in our short time there. As I dove deeper into my digital battle, a quick figure flashed across a wall behind the TV. It was so quick that I almost convinced myself I had imagined it. Pausing the game, my heart raced as I peered over the screen, hoping to catch a glimpse. But there was nothing, just the quiet darkness of the night pressing against the window. I shook off the feeling, chalking it up to the side effects of too many hours of gaming. However, the unease wouldn't leave me. Driven by a mix of curiosity and lingering fear, I tiptoed to the back door. The moonlit garden was peaceful, almost serene, which calmed my nerves momentarily. I was about to turn away, telling myself I'd let my imagination get the better of me, when the door handle rattled sharply. This wasn't my imagination. Someone was really trying to get in. As adrenaline surged through me, I sprinted upstairs, my voice barely above a whisper, trying to rouse my parents. "Somebody's trying to break in," I whispered urgently, pulling them from their sleep as we hurried downstairs together. Protectively and cautiously, my father flicked on the backyard lights. A man in dark clothing, illuminated by the sudden brightness, quickly withdrew his hand from the door handle. Our eyes met for a mere instant before he ran off into the darkness from which he had emerged. We called the police, but with only a fleeting glimpse of the intruder and no signs of forced entry, there was little they could do. The incident left us deeply shaken, embedding a residue of fear into the comfort of our new home. That night, my perception of our house changed. What had once felt like a sprawling playground now seemed riddled with unseen dangers. In the days that followed, we attempted to return to our normal routine, but the previously inviting corners of the house now appeared darker and more ominous. Each creak served as a reminder of the intrusion. I found myself avoiding the back door after dark, and the thrill of exploring the house's hidden nooks had faded. Long after the police concluded their inquiries, a wary awareness replaced the innocence of my new home. Even as life slowly returned to a semblance of routine, the echoes of that night persisted. I became more cautious, acutely aware of the fragility of peace. Every unexplained noise seemed to carry a hint of threat, and I often found myself staring into the darkness, contemplating the dangers that lay just beyond the reach of the light. I moved into my new apartment, feeling really hopeful and optimistic about it. I expected this modern, spacious apartment in the city to provide the necessary fresh start for a young woman eager to pursue her career ambitions. Initially, the apartment, with its sleek fixtures and ample light, felt like stepping into a realm of possibilities. After a couple of weeks, though, the initial thrill began to fade. I noticed small discrepancies, a book not where I last placed it, a drawer slightly ajar, and a chair oddly out of position. Initially, I dismissed these disturbances as mere oversights on my part, distracted by my new job and settling into a new place. However, as these small anomalies accumulated, they wove a tapestry of unease that became impossible to ignore. A sound that sent chills through my very core ruined the solitude I cherished one night. The distinct noise of kitchen cabinets creaking open and snapping shut abruptly pierced the sense of solitude I cherished one night. Lying in bed, I was frozen, my ears straining in the darkness, trying to make sense of what I had heard. The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating. With my hands shaking, I grabbed my phone to call the police, whispering to the receiver about someone possibly being inside my apartment. The wait for the police to arrive stretched out endlessly, each tick of the clock amplifying my ear. When the officers finally arrived, they conducted a thorough search. The discovery of muddy footprints leading from the back door through the kitchen confirmed my fears. Someone had indeed been there. The footprints ended abruptly, leaving no clue as to where the intruder had gone after leaving the kitchen. The police could find no one and nothing else out of the ordinary. In the aftermath, feeling a mix of violation and lingering terror, I installed security cameras around the apartment. For a few days, nothing unusual happened, and I began to hope that perhaps the intruder was just a transient dark phase in my life. Then, one night, as I reviewed the camera footage, my blood turned cold. The cameras had captured a fleeting image of a figure moving through my living room. The figure was barely more than a blur of light, but it was unmistakably human. Seeing the intruder on video so clearly, yet so ghostly, made me think. I couldn't stay any longer. Packing up felt surreal. Each item I placed into boxes was a reminder of the peace and excitement I had felt when I first moved in, now lost. I left the apartment carrying not just my belongings, but a heavy heart. What was supposed to be my sanctuary had become a place of fear and anxiety. Leaving behind the apartment that day, I wasn't just moving to a new place. I was desperately seeking a haven, a truly safe place where the dark phases of the past couldn't touch me. The incident had shattered my sense of security, leaving me forever cautious and a little less trusting of the quiet that had once been so comforting.